안녕하세요. Exchange Chan Megan
Joanne입니다. 안녕하세요. Exchange Chan 23번째 시간입니다. 오늘은 Thanksgiving Day가 다가오고 있는데요. 다음 주인데요. 오늘의 주제는 Thanksgiving Day에 대해서 얘기해 보도록 하겠습니다. Hello, Matt.
Hi, Joanne.
Welcome. Good to see you.
Welcome. Good to see you too. Y'all didn't see this, but when we were recording, when you said Joanne, there was a spike in the audio, like as we're recording. I think it shows the difference in our...
waking up.
You are. Difference in our energy levels.
levels.
Which is great.
Mine is so big.
I love it. It's a good balance.
So, how are you today?
I regret to say
feeling
sleepy.
Good. Sleepy.
But I do feel good. You know, it's I think sometimes it's funny to say like I feel great, but then if you like list all the maybe things that people might go, are you sure? You sure about that? Like, oh, I'm tired and I had some stress. But like, no, I'm good. I'm just, maybe a little
look good,
a little sleepy.
You look good.
I wore tinted sunscreen today. So maybe that's why.
That's the reason.
I washed my hair and I'm wearing tinted. No, thanks. Yeah, we're good. Are you good?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
I'm always good.
Well, I don't think that's true.
That's true. That's not true.
No, I think that can be, an overarching, like, yeah, I'm great all the time. Don't be great. Don't be
that's
great
exhausting
all the time. To be great all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's exhausting. Don't put that pressure on yourself. But today we are talking about holidays, specifically Chuseok.
Yeah, Chuseok. So
tell me about it.
So Chuseok is coming.
Yeah, yeah.
Next week.
Yeah.
Right next week.
Yeah.
So you are always know about the Chuseok things.
I know to an extent, but like I haven't I haven't had an invite to someone's Chuseok yet. I haven't been invited yet.
Sorry.
No, well, we didn't know each other last year during Chuseok. But I was here during Chuseok of but I am familiar with Thanksgiving in general, in the States and other places. And it's a holiday, which we've talked about holidays before. We've talked about Chuseok before.
Oh, we've talked before a little bit.
But it's always good to dive a little deeper. So, let's...
That's right.
I'm happy to learn more.
So we've touched on Korean holidays before a little bit, but today we are gonna delve a little deeper into Chuseok. Chuseok is one of Korea's most significant holidays.
I've been learning that. Yeah, and it's usually at the end of September.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
So it usually falls on the 15th day of the 8th month of the lunar calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when the moon is at its fullest and brightest, Chuseok is a time for families to come together, honor their ancestors, and celebrate the harvest. And traditionally, families prepare and share a feast, which includes special foods like songpyeon, rice cake. You know that, songpyeon? Rice cake with some sesames, sweet sesames in it.
No.
Maybe.
Did you bring me some?
You said to me you liked it.
Did you bring it for me one time? And
Yeah.
I just didn't know the name.
I
feel like this
forgot
is a
the
theme.
name
This is
of
a
that
theme.
rice cake.
Well, this is a theme. Like you'll ask me, like, "Hey, do you know this thing? Do you like this thing?" And I go, I don't know." And you go, "Megan, we've been there." Like, sorry. So is it the one they look like lemons?
Yeah. Lemons.
Like
you said
colorful lemons.
It look like lemons.
They do look like lemons.
I thought they weird. Look like a lemon. Why? But size is like a
lemon. Y'all tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. They are okay. They are little balls, but then they have little points at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what a lemon looks like.
The shape of the hands.
It's just a baby. It's a baby lemon. It's
yeah,
just
baby lemons.
Yeah, they're lemon shaped, but they don't taste like lemon.
Don't taste at all.
And then some of the I know. Thank you for the reminder. You're so funny.
Yeah.
No, I adore them. They're delicious.
Yeah, that's right. So sweet
But also not super sweet.
not super sweet.
Which I love. Like as someone who's not always a sweet dessert person, love that.
Because there are a lot of the sesame grains.
Oh, I love sesame. Yeah.
Sesame.
Yeah. Okay.
And then freshly harvested fruits like apples, grapes, and pears. You know the pears.
The Asian pear.
Yeah,
the
Asian
circle
pears.
ones.
So different from Western types.
Yeah. I'm familiar with both. With both,
both.
The Asian and the Western pear. So we're good.
You know the difference.
Yeah. They're unless you're eating a Western pear when it's not very ripe, the ones here are
Not ripe.
crunchier. They're crunchier, right? Like a good ripe Western pear. There are a few varieties, but like they all have that kind of like bell shape, pear shape,
Bell
really.
shape.
Bell pear shape. You know, when they're ripe, they are softer. They're still mealy and a bit like, but they're softer. Here, it's more apple consistency. I would say it's a bit crunchier,
a little bit.
You know, they're delicious
And more watery.
I love them.
Juicy.
Well, I would argue Western pears are juicier when they when they get softer. Like we're talking
get softer.
almost like peach. You know, like that drippiness that like they get to that extent. Here, you're right. They are juicier than the apples you get here. I've had some juicy apples, but yeah, because they're crunchier, they're a very distinct flavor. I really like them, but yeah, very different.
That's right.
Okay, so pears,
Apples and grapes.
grapes. Okay, got it.
And a key ritual during Chuseok is 차례. You know, the 차례 is a ceremony where families offer food and drinks to their ancestors as a sign of respect and gratitude.
Yeah. Okay.
And then people also visit their ancestral hometowns, clean the grave sites of their ancestors, and perform a ritual called 성묘. We call it 성묘.
And what does that?
Clean the grave sites.
Okay.
And then where they pay their respects at their graves.
Okay.
Additionally, there are various folk games and activities such as 강강수월래. I mentioned it before, a traditional circle dance. Wearing some traditional Korean
okay. Yeah.
costumes. And then, and 씨름. 씨름 is Korean wrestling.
Oh.
A little bit different.
So you dance and you wrestle each other.
Dance and wrestle. Dance.
Wow.
Dance
so
and
lively.
wrestle.
Love that.
And then, you know, that is which are enjoyable during the holidays, especially in Chuseok.
Okay.
And then Chuseok is a time of reflection and gratitude and celebration and making the end of the harvest season and strengthening family bonds, I think.
Yeah. I think any holiday.
Any holiday.
Do that.
Yeah, that's right.
I find it so funny that a lot of human connection too is like bodily. Like we're talking dance, we're talking wrestling, but even eating, and you know, it's all this very bodily way to connect within your energy, within community.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Great.
And then I think in America, similar family gatherings take place with a similar purpose, right?
Yeah.
So would you show us a little more about that?
Well, which one? I think I think the Americans have like a particular Thanksgiving, right?
Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's the biggest one, right?
No.
No?
Well, it depends.
The Christmas?
Well, if you're Christian, then it's Christmas, I would say. But one that maybe crosses any religious denomination is Thanksgiving. I mean, I struggle with it too, because Thanksgiving is rooted in like the story we all hear is like the Pilgrims and the Native American, blah, blah, blah. Really, it's just like colonialist, and it's like, it's not great. So I've been very kind of happy that I've been away from those roots of it, or not like away. Like I haven't been in the States for a long time. The last time I did like a semi vibe of American Thanksgiving. I did have one last year with some people where they just hosted like pretty much just a dinner party, and then before that it was like 2017. People wanted. I was on artist residency in Finland, and they were like, "I want to know what because American Thanksgiving is. It's very infamous, like or very famous. Like people know about it, and they're like, what are y'all doing? What are y'all eating? Right? That's the." So it's a thing, and sometimes I like to bring that, but I've always questioned, as I always, we've talked about this before, I question holidays, and we can talk about this later in this segment, but the idea about like, where do holidays come from? What are they? You know, we talked about the harvest for this, all the, I question a lot of it, and if something is rooted in racism, colonialism, I want to kind of pick that apart because I don't want that any kind of celebration be like specifically tied to that. At the same time, if we're not, well, think about it's a holiday, right? And it is also about harvest. And it is, yeah, I mean, it's the turkey, it's the gravy, mashed potatoes, stuffing, pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie.
Yeah. So there are very specific things that you can eat than things that other people bring in. I come from a very large family. One year, my mom is, like I said, one of 18 children. And one year, my family decided to host it.
I didn't heard. Yeah, at the first time I've heard that. Wow.
I know,
shocking.
Wild. One year, my family decided to host Thanksgiving. I didn't grow up in a huge house, right? Maybe for Korea, it would seem somewhat big, but like it's not big. There was like a first floor and then a basement. Yeah, smaller. And so my dad had thought, okay, let's, because there were going to be 70 to 80 people.
70, 80.
That's normal. Okay. So a lot of people get at me. They're like, Megan, why do you sit on the floor all the time? I'm like, you're either standing or sitting on the floor. There aren't enough spots, right?
So you have enough space to
sit. So my dad thought like, okay, there's going to be that many people. We have a small house. He would call like the house I grew up the kitchen. He called it a one butt kitchen. It really only fits one person. You know, you can't have a lot of people in the kitchen. It's not. So he decided to like get heaters. He had to like rent or borrow heaters and got the garage. He like cleaned that out and put some tables out there, made it, because at that time in the States, Thanksgiving is always the third like full week Thursday. It's always on a Thursday, full week Thursday of November. So meaning like if November starts on a Tuesday, that Thursday doesn't count. You then count the next Thursday and then 2 more Thursdays from that. But if it starts on like a Sunday, then you count that Thursday. It's very odd. So it always changes, but it's always the third Sunday of the full week. But it's always at end of November. So when we hosted, he had thought like, okay, we'll get some extra room so we don't have to be as my mom, we're just used to being crowded.
Being
maybe
crowded.
2 to 4 people were in the garage all night.
All night.
So meaning like not like the whole time, but like only like fewer than 10 people. Like maybe 5-6 people were out in the garage. The rest of us were inside, like sardines, just like chilling. I mean. It was what I'm used to, but like it's always lots of food, and it is traditional food. Like because of that many people, you do have to have like a ham as well. But it's usually turkey, gravy, you know, like all those like things. And I grew up with a dad who loves cooking, and it's always from scratch. Like all, you know, he always cooks it.
Maybe he all day long. He cooked.
If not like a couple days.
Oh, a couple days.
Yeah, he'll like prepare things before, overnight, a few days before. He loves it. So I grew up with that. I then went to like an ex of mine's house, and this sounds horrible because I'm like, what? I just was spoiled with like good food. They cooked like mashed potatoes from a box. Or like these things from a box, which I'm like, I'm also talking about that from privilege, right? That like I come from a father who wants to cook and valued food in a way that like, don't get me wrong, I grew up with a lot of like I ate box potatoes growing up. I ate like tin
box
like a box, like 8 box potatoes. So like I've had those things, but when it comes to a holiday, my dad would always kind of splurge a little bit. But even potatoes, that's like a cheap poor man's thing, right? So I know I'm coming from a place of privilege, but like it's I didn't experience a lot of people's Thanksgivings, and I did realize how I was very fortunate. So when I was in Finland, I cooked my dad's recipe for stuffing. yeah, so for the States, it's kind of the same, but almost 2 months difference from Chuseok, right? Like Chuseok is end of
so
September.
15th of 8th month.
Yeah.
So it's like in a lunar way, so it's different.
Yeah.
Every year.
But like last year it was end of September, early October. Right. And so then the one I'm used to is then 2 months later. Yeah. And I'm guessing it's kind of similar in the way of like you come together. It is kind of about the harvest. More so I would say here. In the States, so there's, you know, certain kinds of food that you eat, kind of about the harvest, whatever, about family getting together. There's also like American football that's always on. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I'd say comparatively, it's one of the holidays that's like about food, right? And is it kind of the same for Chuseok? Is like it's kind of about food.
Yeah, food and family reunion. Yeah. Why? Reunion.
But I feel like
family reunion.
But I feel like it's interesting that you're saying like that's kind of the biggest one. I grew up Catholic, right? And so we also had Christmas and then like Easter. And then we also would have the 4th of July. Not as much, but like Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving are the big ones of family reunion.
Yeah, that's right.
Here in Korea, is Chuseok kind of like all of that for everyone, like of getting together as family?
Yeah,
or do you have other holidays where you do as well?
Here in Korea, annual.
Yeah.
Annual, the first of the year, lunar.
Oh, so the Lunar New Year.
Yeah, Lunar New Year, and then Chuseok. And
what about New Year's Eve? Like, because I know there's like the
New Year's Eve,
like the international Gregorian calendar New Year's Eve.
New Year's Eve, we just spend that day with the immediate family.
Okay. And I think that's just, you know, we can talk about it in general terms, but I think it's just in general with anyone, families do celebrate it differently. Like I would do 3 Christmases growing up. Because one, Christmas Eve was with my dad's side of the family, Christmas Day with my mom's side of the family, and then I would do 4 Christmases. One with my immediate family, and then one with 2 of my mom's sisters, which was like, and then all those cousins, which pretty much would be like a normal family.
Wow.
Right? Like, you think about this. Like, my mom has, 2 sisters, she had a twin, and like someone else, she was another sister she was close to. They were like the 3 youngest sisters. And we all lived close to each other, and in total, all of us together, like the 3 sisters and then their husbands and then all the kids, all together we were like 18 people. So that's like a lot of people. That's a normal family, but like that's just a sixth of my mom's family. Right? So we would have those like little different, so like 4 Christmases, right? Just to like kind of get all these celebrations. So just like
every year you celebrate
4 times, and it's evolved now. I mean, I haven't been. We're also talking about all this, knowing that I haven't spent a holiday with my biological family in many years. Right? Like I said, the last time I did Thanksgiving, even somewhat official, like kind of last year, but that was the first time in 6 years that I did something, and it was just a dinner party, right? So and Christmas, I've usually spent holidays alone. And so I always question holidays. I make my own. But something I've really enjoyed from my travels and from people I've met is learning about different holidays and then evolving to like what I like for me and what do I like to adopt. I love Lunar New Year. I got to experience it very quite a bit in Taiwan because that's more in like the Chinese tradition a bit, and so that's really about the food and certain kinds of food that you eat. They didn't have like a harvest festival that I know of, but they had like what you're talking about with ancestors. They have an official holiday called like Grave Sweeping Day, which is exactly that. You go and you clean your ancestors' graves, and it's just like grave sweeping. And so it's like 4 days. It was you always would get like 4 days off of school, depending on like it was. So whenever I was teaching, it was like you're not working that day because it's grave sweeping holiday.
Wow.
So like I learned about that. In Switzerland there was like Kilby, which is
Kilby,
which is, it's funny, like you have somewhat end of September, and then this was end of October, early November, and then the one I'm used to, I grew up with, was end of November. So it's the same thing. It's a harvest holiday. My Swiss family and I would, they always make what are called, I think, bretzeli, which is like this bretzeli, kind of like a
kind of a bread.
Kind of a bread. It's like a twist.
Yeah, twisted one.
But not twisted. It's like it's really fun to make. You make a dough. It's very buttery, very creamy. And then you like roll them out into long like little snakes. But then you connect them so then they become like this long oval. And then you have all these. And then when you do it, it's this hot iron. And you put two together so they become this little like cross with like loopy cross or loopy X. And then you know, kind of put them together through in hot iron, and then you eat them with you know, whenever you're having dessert. Theirs are more salty, and then other places within Switzerland do a sweet one. So it just, you know, varies. It's different from
it depends on the areas.
Canton to canton, yeah. So I also was introduced to that, and I just think it's so funny with everything you've said with what Chuseok is. It is just about like, sure, different varied traditions, but how I see in Chuseok the varied things that I've experienced in other places. It's just all about getting together and showing love. And
that is most important.
Yeah. And it's fun learning the different traditions and seeing what works for you and how, like, what I'm curious in our like next section, like how you evolve that and like what you're used to and what you do. It'll be I think it's beautiful.
Yeah, so it was started. It rooted from the the harvest thing, celebration for harvest thing. But nowadays it's a little bit different.
Well, yeah, because we don't have as traditional of a harvest in
right.
certain ways. At the same time, how much of it is that? Like even Christian holidays were rooted in these pagan traditions. Like Christmas is all about a pagan tradition of Yule, you know, like the changing of season and like the darkest day of the year, and it just all is that. And if you take a harvest festival and you evolve it as time goes on, that's what we do. We're humans. We're evolving. So why not? Yeah.
네, 제가 지금 메간에게 추석에 대해서 우리나라의 추석에 대해서 조금 추석에 차리는 음식들하고 추석에 우리가 추는 춤들이나 뭐 여러 가지들에 대해서 특징들에 대해서 조금 얘기를 하고 그다음 미국이나 다른 나라들에 대해서 추석이 어땠 날을 좀 들어봤는데요. 여기저기 다 똑같은 것 같아요. 거의 다 뭐 먹는 음식들은 그 나라마다 좀 다르겠죠. 다 다르고 우리는 밥을 위주로 하지만 서양에서는 빵을 위주로 먹는 사람들이니까 많이 다르기는 하지만 뭐 터키를 먹는다든지 그렇지만 옛날에 추석이 그 하비스트를 위해서 추수한 그 곡식을 기념하기 축하하기 위해서 모인 것이 근거가 되기는 했지만 지금은 그거보다는 사람들이 가족들이 다 같이 다시 모이는 계기가 되는 그런 의미가 훨씬 더 중요한 것 같아요. 그거는 어느 나라에서나 다 똑같은 목적인 것 같습니다. 네, 메간도 지금 그렇게 얘기를 하고 있습니다.
Thank you.
Oh my God. And I'd like to tell you about my Chuseok after 음악. You know that 음악?
Yes. And I'm looking forward to it, to hearing about your Chuseok.
Yeah, my Chuseok is a little different, but not so serious.
Well, we're in good company, right? Like I've said, I've evolved my holidays as well. So, yeah, it'll be great to talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so first song is Who by Jimin.
Never met, but she's all I see at night. Never met, but she's always on my mind. Wanna give her the world and so much more. Who is my heart waiting for? If every day I think about her, yeah, every day of my life, then tell me why I haven't found her. Why? So many people to see, places to go. We still
칼국수에서 이렇게 깊은 맛이? 진한 국물의 사골 칼국수와 만둣국, 가시를 하나하나 발라낸 부드러운 사골 황태국, 김치 하나까지 손수 담가 내오는 장인의 정성이 듬뿍 담긴 음식들, 따끈하고 든든한 한 끼 팔방 칼국수에서 만날 수 있습니다. 푸짐한 전골에 30년 비법의 수제만두 한 접시를 곁들이면 모임이나 회식도 오케이. 남가자동 이웃들의 입맛을 사로잡아온 백년시장 맛집 팔방 칼국수에서 사계절 변함없는 맛과 인심을 누려보세요. 팔방 칼국수 0507-1450-2398 0507-1450-2398
My chuseok is more of a fusion style, which has been adapted to be less traditional and more modern.
Okay.
I only prefer perform rituals for my father-in-law because in Korea, when a woman gets married, she typically participates only in her husband's family rituals and does not take part in her own family's rituals. I mainly prepare foods that our family enjoys. And since I heard that my family-in-law liked coffee, my father-in-law liked coffee, so I always make sure to include a cup of coffee.
Yeah, as you should. I feel like you know this about him. Why wouldn't he enjoy it as a spirit?
Yeah, of course.
Why not?
Why not? The reason I arrange the offerings this way is that traditional Korean ritual foods are usually prepared without much seasoning and without garlic because it's quite cumbersome. I didn't know this word.
Did you not? Cumbersome.
Cumbersome.
It's a good word.
Cumbersome.
Kind of like cucumber, but not.
Yeah,
But
cucumber.
it's
So I
cumbersome.
remember cucumber.
Yeah, cumbersome. To be full of cumber, meaning a bit like it's a lot of labor for not a lot of payoff.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
To prepare a variety of ritual foods and then recook them to suit our taste. So I prefer to set the table with simpler foods such as fruits and rice cakes that don't require much additional preparation. Additionally, my mother-in-law is a Christian, so she really dislikes performing rituals. So I keep it simple by having just out immediate family gather to perform the ritual briefly and then share a meal together. Of course, I perform the ritual and then have a meal with just my immediate family. Meanwhile, my in-laws gather with my mother-in-law to share a meal together.
Okay.
That's my chuseok.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we're getting into a lot of things, but like haven't fully gone there. So I think it's good to say, like, as because we're speaking English right now. So for any listeners who are unfamiliar with, maybe they can intuit and put together what a traditional layout is like. But for those who don't know, and from my understanding of what you said, we spoke about this earlier before recording, is a traditional setup for offerings is a lot of traditional foods.
That's right.
Like 20, 30, over, loads of different kinds of food.
Full of table.
That can take like
table.
a week to prepare these traditional
To prepare that.
these traditional foods, and you lay them out. You don't make them with garlic or any kind of certain seasoning, so it's very
without salt.
Yeah. I think.
Can you imagine that? Salt, garlic.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking here as both people who seem to we're open to, maybe some people might call it bastardizing, and like in some people's minds it might seem disrespectful, right? Of changing a tradition, because you, like I said, you kind of got into some of this, but so that's kind of the normal tradition, right? Is you prepare foods that don't have a lot of seasoning, and it's traditional to labor for a whole week to then have these offerings, do the ritual, and then recook that food so you can eat it later. So the food isn't going to waste. It just then you need to put more labor in to make it edible for everyone involved.
So, we have to recook and then, have to put our effort twice
Yeah.
to make one food.
Yeah.
So it takes time.
Yeah.
And it takes more energy.
Yeah.
And then, so a lot of time wasting.
Yeah. Well, and see, and we talked about this earlier, but I think it's important to, I had said it earlier. I was like, hey, some people might call you lazy and disrespectful, which I think is unfair. I as someone who also, I literally do a tradition every Christmas Eve where I do a performance. In some people are like, what are you doing? And that can be seen as disrespectful in certain ways. And yet, and I don't want to take the words from your mouth, but you said it in a really lovely way of why you do it this way. Because in my eyes, what you're doing is, because you're kind of going against two things. One, you're going against your mother-in-law's desires and wishes by performing this ritual, even though you are.
So she wants to observe the ritual things, and then but she's a Christian, so she doesn't want this kind of traditional ritual thing. It's just that she wants to do the things in a Christian way.
Yeah, and so meaning if you do it in front of her and you do these things, you get a lot of criticism for it, and you don't want to deal with that as well. At the same time, you're also going against the tradition to an extent too. Like it's not like you're, because I wonder how she would feel if you fully observed the very traditional, because some, especially Christianity and certain things, it's kind of at odds. It observes tradition, and yet if it goes against the ways that they want you to do it, it's like, wow, what are you doing? But you're also going against the Korean tradition of you're giving your father-in-law coffee.
Of course.
I think that's great.
I've heard it. He liked it.
Did you
so
ever
much.
meet him?
Just only short time.
Okay, so
just only for
but
1
did you
year.
see him drinking coffee?
I didn't see.
Okay,
I didn't
because
see,
he was.
but I've heard.
Okay, so you know this about him, and it's just like giving gifts, right? If you listen to someone, a better gift is when you fully listen to someone and observe what they would like and use. That to me is a better gift than just a gift out of obligation.
Of course, that's my thought.
Right?
That's my thought.
And I think that's great. But with what you're talking about is, in a lot of ways, I'm sure there are a lot of people who might have some maybe intense opinions about what you're doing, right? Because you are, in their eyes, maybe seen as disrespecting a tradition, and then also disrespecting your mother-in-law. And yet all this is doing is coming from love. And you said it to me, and like I said, I don't want to take the words out of your mouth, but you had said that you're doing this in a way so that it takes away some of the obligation and the type of work that feels like it's, you're upholding a tradition in a way that it's like you're clinging to something. Whereas if you kind of shed that, you then have more capacity to continue. You wanted the consistency.
That's right. This consistency is more important than anything else.
Yeah.
And so in that case, I don't have to feel like that it's kind of a burden or some heavy thing to me. And then it does make sense to me. And then, I just want to express my love and my respect to my ancestors. That's the only way.
Yeah, and I think that's where you and I get along quite well is this approach to life of if I can adjust things so that, because you want to give love, and I'm you want to be able to freely show love. If you need to adjust some things, even if it goes against tradition or against someone's wishes in certain ways, like your mother-in-law's, it's because you want to give more love. And I'm of the same idea and the same belief of I want, if you can adjust something so that you have more capacity to love and consistently show that love, I think that's great. But I'm sure you have criticisms for it and have had some hard time throughout your life.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes someone, when I tell this kind of my story of the Chuseok to somebody, then they always laughing at me. And sometimes,
which I think is so silly because if I died and someone, and I don't really eat meat, right? but if like if someone's going to offer things like, oh, well, it's traditional to serve these like meat-filled things, and like, oh, I'm gonna serve her an iced coffee, or like, and I'm like, well, I'd probably drink a hot coffee.
Someone said to me, "What are you doing with the offering? You are just playing with that offering."
and I find that so silly because I think it's almost playing with someone if you're not respecting, or at least like had listened to them in their life of who they are and what they like. Like, why, if someone like hates tomatoes and it's traditional to offer tomatoes, why would you give the person who hated tomatoes? I think that's disrespectful. Like, you didn't listen to them or know them well enough to I mean, sure, there is an argument for like maybe you didn't know them well enough, and it so I understand why traditions are there, because it's this consistent thing that allows for, this is how I can show my respect. What you're also bringing in the argument of like, well, things can evolve and change, and this is how I can do it. And why not bring in an extra thing of like, I know you liked coffee, so here you go.
So I cannot understand why they think like that, to follow the strict rules or strict ritual things is the only way to express their
it is a way, because we're not saying it isn't a way. It's fine. And I think what can be hard sometimes is, and I know I've experienced this in my life, when you do something different, even if it's out of love, when people are so strict in that and and don't want to understand your new way of doing it, or your just different way of doing it, it's seen as like disrespectful and like an attack almost, and people can get very angry.
Sometimes they say.
And there are varied experiences. So I applaud you for being resilient in like doing well, because it takes conviction. Because you're also, my other question, you're like, oh, it's a daughter-in-law. You do it for your in-laws, and you didn't really know him. Okay, what happens if you only had sisters? What happens to your ancestors? Do they just get forgotten? Like, what do you mean?
And then they just pray for the...
I think rude.
Pray, and then, they sing some.
Yeah. Okay, I don't get along with my family, and yet I still love my family very much, even if we don't speak. I'm gonna, if this was my tradition in that way, I'm gonna respect that. Like my grandma died recently. I'm gonna honor that. She's my ancestor. I don't also have a spouse, so I can't like respect theirs yet, if ever. But like, I don't know. I think it's. What did your grandparents like? What, like, if you were giving an offering to your grandparents, just like your father-in-law, like coffee, what's something that you would offer to your grandparents?
Grandparents,
like yours? Yeah, you knew them. Yes, you knew your grandparents.
Yeah, I know my grandparents a little bit.
But you observed them. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know, because my parents gave offerings as ruled so strictly.
So it was
so I don't know what my grandparents liked, but because my parents didn't give some food they liked. But it's my private style, own style.
Yeah. So what about like when your parents like are gone? So you knew them more intimately. What's something they liked that you'd be like, oh, kind of like the equivalent of coffee? What's something you would offer them?
Yeah, I'd rather some food they liked.
Like what? What's an example?
That is in case of my mother, she's alive.
Yeah.
I will give some kind of fruit, a lot of fruit.
She loves fruit.
Yeah,
Great.
she loves fruits.
Yeah.
And my father, he liked apples.
Oh my God. So it's just a fruit feast.
Yeah.
Also, think about that. All you have to
couple.
do. Amazing. We love when there's similarities. I love when there's differences in relationships. And then if you have that one funny similarity, it's fruit. Great.
Fruit.
Like, I think I love that. Okay. A fruit couple.
Fruit is, very comfortable to prepare.
I was just thinking. And then also after, when you're going to eat it, all you have to do is peel it or not. And cut it up.
Nothing.
Like, done. That's great. That's so
great.
Good.
So
it's coming from love, right? You observed these things about people. Why not? I mean, we'll probably have discussions about this in humanity until we no longer exist, right? Of is tradition, is it better to uphold tradition, and how much is too much of a deviation from tradition? But I I really enjoy what you're talking about because it's just about love.
Oh,
and you just want to show love.
Thank you. I feel that somebody understand me
Yeah,
so fully.
this is why we're friends. This is, you know, even so we're so different. Like we've talked about this a lot, that there's, and even earlier today, you're like, I'm trying to understand. I'm like, no, I think you do understand me. It's just sometimes there's a lot of a difference but when you take it all away, like I totally get you because I do the exact same thing in my own way in my life. And why not? Yeah, it's all about love. Just accepting the differences.
So thank you.
No need to thank me, but I'm glad you can feel my I see you. And that's, I think, probably one of the deepest forms of love is seeing someone and accepting and being open to how they're expressing themselves. So
thank
happy
you.
to. Of course, my pleasure. Of course.
네, 제가 지금 메간에게 제가 지내는 그 제사의 얘기를 좀 했는데요. 저는 조금 전통에서 좀 벗어난 식으로 추석에 제를 지내고 있는데 저희 시아버지 제사를 지내고 있는데요. 저희 시아버지께서 살아생전에 커피를 그렇게 좋아하셨다 그러더라고요. 그래서 커피를 제사상에 꼭 한 잔씩 놓아드리고 그 다음에 준비하기 좀 어려운 제사 음식들은 저는 잘 안 지내거든요. 안 놓거든요. 왜냐하면 제가 준비하기 힘들면 그게 그 제사가 지속되기가 힘들 것 같아서 지속해서 저희 조상님들을 좀 생각하는 그런 기회, 시간을 지속적으로 갖는 게 더 중요하지 않나 싶어서 그런 어려운 음식들은 잘 안 하고 있는데 그런 얘기를 남들한테 하면 조금 웃으시더라고요. 그래서 너 지금 제사 지내면서 놀고 있니? 뭐 이런 식으로 얘기하시는 분들도 있고 그래서 그런 얘기를 좀 메간에게 했더니 메간이 저를 굉장히 잘 이해해 주네요. 너무 기분이 좋았어요. 저를 그렇게 잘 이해해 주는 사람을 처음 만난 것 같아요. 참 굉장히 기분이 좋았습니다. Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you.
And how about in other countries? You know, you must have spent some Thanksgiving Day in other countries.
Yeah,
you said it before
in Switzerland.
in part 1.
Yeah. And that's really, I think, the majority of like Thanksgiving that I've experienced. Otherwise, it's been other holidays. You know, I've lived in Taiwan, and so there's the Lunar New Year. There's a Dragon Boat Festival where you race dragon boats.
Dragon
Boat Festival. There's I spent New Year's in Finland. So I mean, it's just kind of that. And then in the States, like when I mentioned I've never been invited to a Korean Chuseok, and I say that not as like someone invite me. I'm used to not being invited. I haven't always been invited to other people's holidays, but I have spent like Christmas in Finland as well, and there was at an artist residency, we had dinner together. It was really lovely. Same with, I've spent most of it in a lot of holidays or enough holidays in Switzerland, and so I got to experience a few there, but I've mostly spent holidays on my own. And it's funny because like when I was in university, I mostly had international friends, and so during holidays, except the winter holiday, people would go home. I would stay on campus, and so whatever. But I would always invite my roommate and a friend to my family's Thanksgiving, and it was usually a smaller event when I was in university, because just like with all these, I think it is lovely to share culture in that way. And American Thanksgiving is like, you see it in films, you see it's it's famous, right?
So
and I
many
just
times.
but yeah, I mean, I think we've kind of covered that a bit, but I was thinking about, what's something that like my parents, I would offer to like my grandparents or whatever, because we don't really do that. It's more, I know grave sites whenever I've had family members that have died. You go and bring flowers to the grave. But I mean, like I said, I haven't really been around family for a decade. Like that's 10 years. But I don't know. Like my grandfather smoked a lot. I'd probably light a cigarette and like, put a cigarette. But that's also, I would be borrowing from Asian cultures of when you go to temple and you put the incense stick up.
Yeah, that's right.
We don't do
That's
that
right.
in the West. That's not like a thing.
You don't do that.
No, if anything, you go and you light candles in churches. That's what I've seen, but we don't really have that. But for me, I would like light a cigarette and put it upright.
We call it 향.
Hyang.
향.
And I know it's kind of a thing where you don't like put a chopstick upright in some cultures because that's like offering to the dead, right? So, we just wouldn't do that, but I would do that because like I glean things from other cultures. Like why not find beauties in how people celebrate? My grandma loved candy and she just died recently. So I'd put like Hershey's with almonds. Like that's what I would give her. So it's just, I think that's really special and important. I don't know. I mean, we're also kind of running out of time. I don't know if I need to fully, I kind of got into some of my family traditions. There's always lots of pie at my house. Pumpkin pie, blueberry pie. So yeah, it's just, it's all about holidays, right? It's about finding, because my family would do some traditional things, but then like for Christmas, sometimes there are certain semi-traditional, like white person Christmas things, but my dad would like, you make your own traditions. And so I kind of was, even though there were certain traditions, I was kind of privy to the, hey, we like this, so we're going to do this. During my university, we would sometimes go to, like The Hobbit was coming out. My family really likes Lord of the Rings. So we would go to The Hobbit as a family. So you just do the things that, so even within the strict tradition that I grew up with, I think maybe a reason I also understand you, and then me being artist and me doing my thing, there was room for how do we make something work for us because we enjoy this. And I just think that's a beautiful thing.
Oh, so
yeah,
that's a point.
I think so too. And and like I said, throughout my own life, because I've mostly been alone, I've observed and just gleaned a lot of things from all the places I've lived because, as we said in the first section, it's all about family and all about like getting together and communing. And all holidays and even just ones that you observe yourself, it's just all kind of doing that. And to glean those beautiful new ways of learning about how we can commune as humans and also within ourselves and show our love and express our love, like giving coffee to our father-in-law who we didn't know. That's what it's about. And I think that's great. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Why not? Well, it's beautiful. I think it's all about love. And if you
all about love.
And in my personal opinion, and I think you have a similarity of this, why restrict it to a tradition when you can show more love in a different way? That's great.
Oh, so thank you.
Well, thank you for sharing this because I get to learn more about you too, and it's a lovely connection we have. So
it's a kind of rough saying about my Chuseok, and then so thank you. You understand?
Of course.
You understand me.
Of course I do.
In a full way.
Of course I do. And see, like you telling me this, like I wouldn't have thought anything else that this would be a problem, And sure, that can be like ignorance of not knowing, but I think I've developed this throughout just my life. I've always been like, why is this an issue, and why is it? But there are things like this in the world, and you come up against it a lot, and this is just another thing that is kind of that encountering of some strict tradition that people can be at odds with when all you're trying to do is show love. There's just a bit of that always. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Should we have another
음악 하나 더 드릴까요?
Yeah.
네.
Okay. This next song is a new song by Lady Gaga and Bruno
Lady
Mars.
Gaga.
Yeah. It's called Die With a Smile.
I just woke up from a dream where you and I had to say goodbye, and I don't know what it all means, but since I survived I realized wherever you go, that's where I'll follow. Nobody's promised tomorrow, so I'ma love you every night like it's the last night, like it's the last night. If the world was ending, I'd wanna be next to you. If the party was over and our time on earth to you. Be next to you.
땀 흘려 일하는 당신의 곁에 서대문구 노동자 종합지원센터가 있습니다. 노동법 강좌와 청소년 노동인권 교육, 무료 노동상담, 소상공인을 위한 노사 관계 지원과 취약계층 노동자를 위한 문화복지 사업 등 일하는 사람들을 위한 사업을 진행하고 있습니다. 임금체불, 부당 노동행위, 산업재해, 직장 내 차별행위 등 일하다가 겪는 어려움은 무료 노동 법률 상담 02-395-0025, 02-395-0025로 전화주세요. 배달라이더, 택배기사, 대리기사, 요양보호사 등 이동노동자들을 위한 슈 서대문 이동노동자 쉼터에는 다양한 업무 편의시설과 안마의자가 준비되어 있으니 이동 중 힘드실 때 언제라도 쉬어가시기 바랍니다. 서대문구 노동자 종합지원센터의 소식을 좀 더 알고 싶다면 카카오 채널 서대문 노동자센터를 검색해주세요. 서대문구 노동자 종합지원센터는 일하는 모든 사람이 존중받고 노동이 아름다운 서대문구를 만들기 위해 노력하겠습니다. 당신을 응원하는 서대문구 노동자 종합지원센터와 함께 오늘 하루도 힘내세요.
여러분은 지금 91.3MHz 서대문 공동체 FM 라디오의 익스체인지 챈챈챈을 듣고 계십니다. 이는 서대문 공동체 라디오 플러그인에 의해 만들어지고 있습니다. 저희는 특히 다문화 가정 및 서대문 지역에 거주하는 외국인들에게 도움을 드리고자 만들어진 프로그램으로서 여러분들도 다양한 얘기로 참여하실 수 있습니다. 저희 메일 주소 알려드립니다. exchange1-
at naver.
naver.com입니다.
Also, like,
I forgot that.
it's okay. But also, like, no one's been writing in, so maybe we don't need it. But thanks for saying it. Anyway, continue.
We need it. 그리고 광고 하나 더 하면요. 서대문 지역에 사시는 외국인으로서 한국의 음식이나 언어 교환을 원하시는 분들이 계시면 참여하실 수 있는 조그만 단체 K줌마라고 하는데요. 한국 아줌마들의 모임이거든요. 영어 연습을 하고 있는 단체로서 구성원분들이 서대문 지역에 거주하는 아줌마들로서 음식에 대해서는 빠삭하고 서대문 지역에 대해서도 빠삭하신 분들이에요. 그분들이 한국어를 영어를 정규적으로 연습하고 있으니까 한국어를 정규적으로 연습하고 싶으시거나 여기에 사는 여러 가지 정보들을 듣고 싶으시다면 이 그룹의 도움을 좀 청하는 것도 좋은 방법인 것 같습니다.
Thank you. And you said that so fast because as we're saying, as we're looking at our time, we really enjoyed talking about Chuseok and just holidays in general and love within holidays that we've run out of time. It's yeah,
really?
I know.
So fast.
Yeah, also
so
kind
fast.
of
Always so
right,
fast.
which also why you did the ad only in Korean this time, unlike last time you did it in English because exchange chan.
Exchange.
Chan,
Real
chan.
exchange.
Real exchange. So
Yeah.
here we are. So what's the last bit before we go?
I will show you a Korean word.
Okay.
When you say have a great holiday.
Okay. Go
in
for it.
Korean.
Yes.
명절 잘 보내세요.
명절
잘 보내세요.
잘 보내세요.
Yeah, 명절 means a holiday.
Okay.
잘 보내세요 means have a great.
Okay, so
명절 잘 보내세요.
Okay, 명절
잘 보내세요.
Okay.
You can do that.
Well, yes, I now get the good excuse of we do get to go, but I'll try one more time. Okay.
Okay, one more time.
잘
보내세요. Yes, that's
okay,
right.
Enjoy your holiday.
Yeah, 명절 잘 보내세요, Megan.
You too. Enjoy your holiday.
Thank
명절.
you.
Okay, and see you next time.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.